Hi, this is Andy Turner, the Education Technologist at Illinois College. Today I wanted to show you a demonstration on how to put data into a format that the web will understand. And basically that just means using html5, and I'll show you how to do that. Here I'm starting out in Excel. Of course you could use a SQL Server or any data source to get that data, but we're just going to start out with something very simple. We're going to call this the data set of leather wallets. So, for example, when we create a data set, we want to have columns which are attributes about the data, and then for the rows we want to have instances of that data. So for example, we have the instance ID, the instance name, the type, and the price. And say we have quantity in stock. So the ID is 1, and here we have iguana, leather. And the type is going to be leather. Price is going to be 5, and we have 20 units. Next, ID 2, we have a shark. And this is shark skin. Price is 10. Quantity is 5. Lastly, 3. And now we have the name is a rat, and this is basically just, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do hyena, and this is going to be leather. The price is $7.50. We have 10 of those. Alright, so it's a silly example, but we do have a small data set here, and as you can see, you could go about managing this data in such a way where you update the quantities, you update the price, so on and so forth. You could even have another spreadsheet here where you keep a list of your customers. So maybe also suppliers, if you were going to go into the wallet business full swing. So I'm going to save this small data set very quickly. Just go to File, Save As. On the computer, I'm just going to save it to my desktop. I'm going to call it wallet. And let's go ahead and save this as a comma delimited value, a CSV, a comma separated value. And there we are. Now that should be set. Hey. Okay, and we've saved that file out here to the desktop, and here I've got it. We want to take this structured data from the rows and the columns and put it into a type that we can run queries on. Now we can do so in a normal database using the SQL language. What I like to do, just for simplicity's sake, is to find a CSV to JSON converter, and there's one available online. I'll find the one that I really like to use. There we go. Now, here's where we paste the data. We can even upload that CSV file. So I'm going to do that. And I just Googled CSV to JSON, and that's on my desktop, and that was called Wallet. Uploading a CSV, and there we go. I'm going to convert the CSV to JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And here we are. This is what we want. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put it into a text editor. Sublime Text is a great text editor. Just Google for that and you'll find it. And here's the small array. This could be an arbitrarily large-sized array. So I'm just going to call it var wallet equals that. So this is JavaScript object notation. It's a very wonderful data interchange format pioneered by one of the founders of Yahoo, Douglas Crockford, and he has a really good book out called JavaScript, The Good Parts. I recommend that highly, reading that now. And I'm going to save that out to a new folder. I'm just going to call it wallet. Now, I'm going to call it wallet.js. The .js is important because this is JavaScript. This literally is JavaScript. It's an object literal. And it means basically this is the name, this is the value for each item. This type of representation is the same as this. Only for a program to interface with this data, you would have to say, B2, D3, like you're playing Battleship or something. But this is more of a modern, useful object notation that you can use with HTML, and that's the key. What's the one language that works with the web and HTML? The one scripting language for the web is JavaScript, and that's why we're using it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an interface to this data. I'm going to call it wallet.html. This is going to be a web page that shows that data. We always start out with the declaration. We're going to call this wallet report. And it's got a body, and we're going to say, just as a test, inside the body, we're going to create a tag called script. And we have to say script source equals wallet.js, because that's what we just created. And we're going to end that script tag. We're going to start a new script tag, and we're going to say document.write hello world. We're going to forego a lot of the sort of the nitpicky security constraints for this app, because it's really not secure data in any way. It's just toy data. So normally we wouldn't use document.write and things of that nature, but in this case it makes perfect sense. Let's go ahead and save that off. Now I have wallet.html and wallet in the wallet folder. Wallet.js and wallet.html are in the same wallet folder. If I run this, I'm just going to drag it over to the browser, like so. And there we are. So it's got hello world and it's got the title. Now I want to show the data in that report, not this dummy text. So the way we go about that, just like we have here, we say the array name and then the 0th, the first or the second element, and then the key. And here's what that means. The 0th, the first or the second element, and then which key. So if I want to find hyena, how do I query on that using HTML? I'm going to say document.write wallet, the 0th element of wallet dot name. I think that's right. And it went right to it. Should be fine. Okay, I'm going to save that. Now, let's test it. Wallet.html. Look what I got. Iguana. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's what I wanted to see. The 0th element of the array and the name of the 0th element of the array. That's correct. I thought I said I wanted to do hyena, so let's try that. It's got the ID 3, and it's the 3rd element in this array. However, it's 0 based. 0, 1, 2. Let's see if we can query on that. What will we get when we query on the 2nd element of this? I've saved the file. Now I'm going to refresh the page. Hyena. So you can see how the data is being queried on dynamically because of this variable. What if I wanted all of them to show at once? First, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and write an HTML tag. And this is literally typing the HTML tag in the document.write statement. Document.write is a JavaScript call to the document object model, and document is the top parent in that DOM, document object model. I'm writing this element first, and what that is going to give me is white space in between this report and this data. Now I'm going to do a little programming here. I'm going to say for var I equals 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus, and I'm going to go ahead and write each element of this array by saying wallet sub I, because I is going to count through these. Wallet sub 0, wallet sub 1, wallet sub 2. Now we have 3. That's not true any longer, so it stops. I'm going to save that. We're going to refresh this page, and I've got them all. What I'm going to do now is put in some white space so that there's a line break, just like I did above. Save that. Refresh the page, and there we go. What if I wanted to do something good like calculate the total quantity? You can do that with JavaScript. What if I wanted to add the total price? What if I wanted to write an app that showed me per customer what they ordered? You can kind of see how you can go about stacking up logic into your program based on data and then show it on the web. Let's try to add up all of the worth of the iguana leathers that we have in stock. It'll be something simple. So I'm going to go ahead and comment this code out, and it makes it easy in Sublime Text. I'm just going to toggle a comment. I recommend putting 2 forward slashes in front of each line as opposed to a block comment. Now I want to say document.write wallet sub 0 dot price multiplied by wallet sub 0 dot quantity, QTY I believe it was, and I should get a number. Save it. 100. Now I can mix some literal text like price times quantity is, and close that off and add a plus. And when I do that, I'm going to get that outcome just like it says here literally. So make sure you put your ending and beginning white space in there. Save that. Refresh the page. Price times quantity is 100. So you can see how I could change that to see how many units we have in stock. Well, I already have some looping code here. I will uncomment that to make this live again. Now I want to document each element of the array by saying how many total items do we have in stock. So for all of the wallet elements of quantity, QTY, I want to add that to the pile. So I'm going to create a new variable up here. I'm going to call it variable stock. And luckily with JavaScript there's no need to worry about types. So stock in this case is going to be an integer. And I'm just going to say here, stock, I'm going to go ahead and initialize this to 0. So you never know what's going to happen if you don't do that. Stock equal stock plus wallet sub I dot quantity. So that will accumulate the amount of stock for each element in the wallet array. So now I'm just going to output stock. See if that works. 20, 25, and 35. Seems to work. Because I'm writing that each time. 20, 25, 35. Here we've got 20. Now I've got 25. Now I've got 35. Because it wrote that through. So I wrote that within the loop. I want to take that out of the loop. I want to do my number crunching here. So I'm going to get out of there. And only after the end of the loop am I going to output one final output. And I'll show you what difference that makes. Now the total's 35, and that's correct. 20 plus 5 plus 10. And then last thing, I'll just make sure that this makes some sense by saying we have plus stock plus in stock. Total wallet types in stock. Okay, refresh that. So we've written a very silly little app, but it has very serious results where data is being modified, operated on, queried on, reported on. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you can follow it and create your own app. Perhaps make your own web page and then host it. You can host your app out on codeanywhere.net, and you've got everything right in the browser. So you don't have to download any programs at all to your computer. You can use the browser entirely. Thanks a lot for your time. If you have any questions, please email helpdesk@ic.edu. Thanks a lot.